Most people say that all German performance cars are money pits and you should never buy one. Well, 7 years ago I bought mine and I've been living with the consequences ever since. This is my 2007 Mercedes E63 AMG. I've had it for 7 years, put 70,000 miles on it and spent $15,000 in repairs and maintenance. This is my daily, so I've driven it everywhere, from ski resorts to racetracks. But the most important drive this car has ever made was a slow, careful drive home with my newborn in the back seat. And yet, I've had moments when I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. But there's something about this car that changed how I felt about ownership entirely. Today, I'm gonna tell you the complete truth about living with your dream car for 7 years. The financial reality, the emotional attachment, and the one moment that almost made me sell it. Because if you are thinking about buying your dream car, you need to hear this first. My love for the specific design, the W211 chassis, started way back when I was a teenager. Back in my homeland, these cars were everywhere. They were a symbol of success, a symbol of solid German engineering. I always had a soft spot for them. When I moved to the US, I started my car journey. First, a fantastic Volkswagen Passat B6, a lovely car, I really love that car. Then, as I saved up a few more dollars, I got into the Mercedes world with a 2007 E350. Gosh, I love that car. I drove it for 3 years, but then I made a mistake. I upgraded to a newer W212 E550. I bought 2013 E550 with a bi-turbo V8 engine and fully loaded, very comfortable, very fast, a rocket ship in fact. But there was something about the interior design and overall build quality that just wasn't mine. I could not shake the feeling that I made the wrong choice. I missed W211, so I went back to W211 ownership by buying the king of W211s, this very E63 AMG. But there was one repair that made me question everything. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. I've read every single post on the Mercedes forum about W211 AMGs, E55 versus E63, M113K versus M156. I test drove both and I was certain that my heart was with the E63. If you think buying one and finding one was easy, you are wrong. In fact, I ended up buying this car sight unseen all the way from South Carolina. I developed few gray hairs in the process. It was stressful buying such a performance car without seeing the car, being able to test it and knowing what to expect, what to look out for. The car arrived in a perfect condition. I was having a honeymoon with it. I was charmed. At first I approached it carefully, slowly building confidence before I could let it rip. And when I did, oh boy, the violent acceleration and earth-shattering exhaust noises it makes made my palms sweat and face blooming with happiness each time I floored it. But I could not enjoy the car. I could not enjoy the dream car which I finally bought. And the reason for that was the dreaded headbolt issue. I literally lost sleep over it. I'd go to bed, look at the ceiling and think about the engine, headbolts, the failures. I could not stop thinking that my engine would fail. And after a month of losing sleep, I said to myself that enough was enough. So I started reading about this. I started watching YouTube videos, educating myself. And one day I decided to open up the engine and swap the headbolts without any prior knowledge about the engines and mechanics whatsoever. It wasn't easy. It took me 3 weekends to put it all back together. The headbolts were just fine, by the way. I didn't even have to replace them. And that's not the reason why I said earlier that there were moments when I wondered if I made a serious mistake. I'll talk about that. For now, let's open the engine and talk about common issues and reliability. Under the hood of the W211 E63 AMG, we can see the M156 engine. 6.2 liters, naturally aspirated V8. Do you know what that means? It means that driving this thing is an event. It's an experience. For now, let's talk about the problems. M156, is it flawless? Unfortunately not. It does have its own weaknesses, and all those weaknesses are top-end related. It's not even the headbolts, it's the camshafts, cam adjusters, valve buckets, and the intake manifold. Luckily for me, I did not have to replace nothing except for restoring intake manifold preventatively. And yet, I'm a purist. I've spent $15,000 over 7 years maintaining and fixing this thing. But remember I told you earlier that there was one repair that made him almost sell this? Here's the story. One day I'm driving on the highway, I'm rushing home from work to see my newborn baby. And all of a sudden on the highway, it felt like I lost the power for a split second. All the lights came on the dashboard. It was a very scary moment. I slowly pulled over to the side of the road, shut it off, opened the hood, looked under the hood, and all seemed to be fine, meaning there was no white smoke, there was not a massive oil leak, nothing. Just perfect. I tried to restart it, it restarted, and then choked again and shut off. There was I sat in the car, called the tow truck, and I was in the car contemplating whether I made a huge mistake because it left me stranded. What if I had my baby in the car? What if, God forbid, I was taking my baby to a hospital or something in Russian? And you know what it was? It was the stupid crankshaft position sensor. So 1 hour and $200 later, my mechanic put me back on the road. So you might be thinking that after all that stress during the first year of ownership, I'd be ready to move on. But there was something that made me to keep coming back to this car, to this engine. Over the years, I learned that this engine, M156, loves maintenance. Stay on top of maintenance, fix things preventatively before they fail, and AMG will treat you well. This car has been good as gold for the last 4 years, knock on the wood. Gosh, I love you, M156. Mwah! I can forgive you almost everything. This engine, man, it's legendary, and it will go down in history as one of the greatest AMG engines ever built. But it's not just what's under the hood, it's the way this car feels on the road that matters. Under the hood of this engine, let me explain a little bit what I mean when I say this engine is legendary. First of all, M156 is the first engine ever designed from a blank sheet of paper, entirely by AMG. The engine displacement is 6.2 liters, making it the only AMG engine worthy of carrying that 63 badge. It makes 507 horsepower, but the numbers alone do not tell the full story. It's the character of this engine that matters. It's the character that defines it. You know, I watch all these younger YouTubers reviewing electric cars, talking about instant torque and their admiration, and I laugh when I see such videos, because that tells me instantaneously that these guys have never driven an old school, high revving, naturally aspirated V8 engine like this one. This engine, this is the definition of linear instant torque. The throttle here is not a suggestion box. It feels as if my right foot was mechanically connected to the throttle bodies by a steel wire. That's how responsive, how immediate, how linear this is, especially in manual mode. This engine, it's like having a conversation with someone who really understands you. Every press of the throttle gets you exactly the response you expect. It's a mechanical empathy. But an engine itself is nothing without the right controls, and this is where W211 A63 separates itself from modern day cars. First of all, let's talk about the steering. It's hydraulic steering, which means it's very direct, it's very responsive. You can feel the road through this wheel, and you don't even appreciate this until you start driving newer cars with their video game-like electric steerings that's so numb. And the transmission, down into the third. Okay. By modern day dual clutch standards, the transmission is slow, and it doesn't do fancy rev matching. But this 7-speed transmission, it's reliable, it's smooth, and in manual mode, it's wonderfully dramatic. Forget shifting at 3000 RPM. Let it rev, watch the needle pass the 6000 RPM, and then BAM! Pull the right pedal, let it shift. The transmission does not just shift, it slams into the gear. It feels like riding an Arabian horse with a temper bucking underneath you. That's what it feels like. That's what this engine is about. It's all about experience. It's an event driving this thing. So is it perfect then? No, absolutely not. And I'm not going to be sitting here pretending like it is. First of all, this car, despite having 507 horsepower and all the torque going to rear wheels, came with an open differential from the factory. I think that was just criminal. Secondly, Although you can make the suspension stiffer by changing the setting to Sport 2, it doesn't get as stiff as I wish it did. You can feel the body roll when hitting apexes on a racetrack or when drifting. And lastly, it's costly to own. I think anyone who has had an old performance German car will understand what I mean. So after 7 years, 70,000 miles, a few costly repairs and one important trip home from the hospital, what's the final verdict? This car has woven itself into the fabric of my life. It's not just a machine I use for transportation, it's a source of therapy. I spend my weekends washing and cleaning this car not because it's dirty, but because I truly enjoy the process. It's a bond. Each time I get behind the wheel of this car, I still feel that same magic I felt on day one. The roaring V8, the hydraulic suspension, the sheer unapologetic character of it all. It's something that the modern day cars, with all their electrification, performance and perfection, can and will never deliver. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one car that you have ever had that still gives you goosebumps? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear.